The US Space Agency NASA has pieced together a panoramic view from the camera on its Mars exploration rover Opportunity. It's calling the image the next best thing to being on the red planet. The full circle scene fuses together more than 800 images taken over a 4-month period. It shows new rover tracks and an old impact crater. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Darren Osborne, the news editor of ABC Science Online. Darren Osborne, are these images being described as the next best thing to being on the red planet itself, but what can we actually glean from them?
Well, it looks a lot like the Australian outback.
Yes.
That's certainly what it looks like. As you say, this has taken a long time, 4 months, for the spacecraft to be able to gather those images. And what we're seeing is we're sitting on the edge of a crater, a very large crater, about 22 kilometres in diameter. There's lots of dust and wind-blown sand, which we've known about for many years. We've been exploring Mars. And so it shows it's a very dry location. But we're also seeing outcroppings of rock. And the scientists will be looking at those through different coloured filters to try and better understand the composition of those rocks and how they came to form in the first place.
Because they're always searching, of course, for any sort of sign of life or whether there would be water, that sort of thing.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, some people would suggest that NASA is a little bit too driven on the quest for searching for life, but certainly they want to understand the history of the planet. And to do that, you can look at the rocks and see the different types of rocks, their compositions, their placement and so forth. The rover, over its period, has actually made a number of interesting discoveries. One of them, for example, is finding a mineral called gypsum. And gypsum forms wherever there is water here on Earth. And so it's a likely sort of leap to suggest that water existed in some quantity on the surface of Mars to be able to form that rock in the first place.
So these pictures come from a rover called Opportunity. How long has it been on Mars and how big is it?
It's about the size of probably an average dining table. It's a fairly large thing, not quite the size of a small car. It landed on Mars in early 2004, expected to last about 3 to 6 months, so it's way beyond its warranty period now. It's been there for 8 years.
So why has it lasted so long? Do they know?
Just well built.
Yeah.
It just keeps going and going. I mean, the amazing thing is that you can't go up there and fix it, so any problems that occur, you have to work around them. And certainly its sister rover, Spirit, which was landed at exactly the same time or within a week of it, it broke down about 2 years ago. Its wheels stopped moving, it got bogged, couldn't move out, and eventually it no longer was in contact with us.
Now NASA keeps sending these rovers to Mars. There's another one due there shortly?
Yep, there was one launched late last year. It's called Curiosity. It's about the size of an SUV, so they're getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, and it's going to be landing the 6th of August our time, about 3:30 in the afternoon, so perfectly prime time for us here in Australia. It's a very, very complicated landing procedure. I watched a video again this morning. It's called 7 Minutes of Terror. It's being produced by NASA. They'll be keeping their fingers crossed, and it's certainly, if it lands and it succeeds, it'll be the next big step for Mars exploration.
And you say it's a larger vehicle. What do they hope that they might be able to glean from this one?
Well, there's a lot more experiments on board, and some of them will actually be looking for signs of life. So back in the late 70s, when they sent the Viking landers there to land, they had a little experiment to detect if there was life on the planet. The results were inconclusive, and there's still debate even today as to what those results showed, whether or not life existed. These experiments are sort of 40 years forward, and hopefully they'll give a more definitive answer. But they'll also be looking at the geology and the weather patterns on Mars, and hopefully in the future give us some idea of what it might be like if we send humans there.
We're still a long way from sending humans though, aren't we?
Yeah, quite a way. I mean, at the moment there are no long-term plans from NASA, although they have indicated that they would be more likely to go to an asteroid or to Mars than to the Moon. Even though the Moon is closer, I think for them it seemed more of a challenge to go that extra distance. So we might see that probably before 2050, maybe in our lifetime.
Maybe not. Darren Osborne, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.